Hi, and welcome to the Reiki from the Farm podcast, brought to you by me, Pam Allen-LeBlanc from Hidden Brook Farm. I am a scientist, a businesswoman, and a licensed Reiki master teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. Each week in this podcast, you'll be entertained as you learn about a wide variety of relevant Reiki topics, helping you become a more knowledgeable and effective Reiki practitioner. We caution you, though, this podcast may also dramatically improve your life, and we are so happy that you're here. Hi, friends. On this podcast, I am talking with my friend and colleague, fellow licensed teacher, Tracey Sullivan, about something that we're really excited to bring to the world, healthcare Reiki. Welcome, Tracey.
Hi, Pam. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. We've been working, Tracey and I, for a little over a year now, just listening to the energy around this. And we thought it was time to let you guys know about it and introduce it and let you know how you can get involved if this is a style of Reiki that speaks to you. So we're so excited that you're here. Before we go too far, I just want to let you know about some of the things we have coming up here at the farm. Online, I have a Reiki Level 1 and 2 class the weekend of January 25th and 26th, a Reiki Master class Friday and Monday evenings, and the weekend around January 31st to February 3rd. So it's a Friday evening, a full day Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday evening. I have a Karuna Reiki Master class all evenings, January 27th to 30th. So that will work really well for Asian and Australian students as well as students in North America who are ready to do Karuna but don't really have the ability to take 3 days off of work. We also have Animal Reiki Level 1 and 2 the weekend of February 8th to 9th, and Animal Reiki Master follows that through the week, February 10th to 13th. And again, that is an evening class if that helps make it possible for you to attend. I'm going to try a lot more evening classes at the master level this year just to make it possible for people to attend without needing to take time off of work. I also love the slightly shorter format of teaching evening classes rather than have to sit for 9 and 10 hours at a time. It's 4 and 5 hours and a little easier to assimilate and integrate. And then it also opens those classes up for the Asian and Australian students as well. I also have animal communication for Reiki practitioners. I won't be offering this again until next November. So if you want to take this course, February 15th and 16th is the introductory level 1 and 2 workshop. February 17th, and this is a long weekend for many of us in North America, so it's a Monday. There's a level 3 professional practitioner workshop. And then February 18th to 20th, online over 3 evenings, is my very first animal communication for Reiki practitioners master teacher course, where I'm finally going to be training people to spread this work and this class. I heard you people talked about how this course is so much more spiritual and powerful and professional than some of the other classes that were available, and people would like to start teaching it. So the energy finally was ready, and we're ready as well. And then the thing that some of you are waiting on is healthcare Reiki. Tracey and I have set a definite date of April 30th and May 1st. That will be just before the Northeast Reiki retreat in SilverBay, New York. And it may be, I'm not sure, but it may be the only time we can teach this in person together. Now, possibly just the weekend before that, we will be doing a pilot class, and that will be online. If you would like to register for the class at the Northeast Reiki Retreat, there's a link in the podcast description. You can register. The pilot class hasn't been announced yet. But if you'd like to be considered for the pilot class, just email myself or Tracy. You can email me at Pam at reikifromthefarm.com and let us know, and you will receive an invitation. The pilot class will be a smaller group of hand-chosen students, and then we're ready to offer this course to the world at the end of April and beginning of May. It's exciting, Tracy. What do you think?
It is. It's very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too. Tracy, what do you have coming up? You teach as well a lot of weekends and some evenings. And what do you have coming up the
Yeah.
next little bit?
I think at this point I would direct people to my website, which is reikiintegration.com for my class dates because I didn't actually jot them down
Or
before, so you can easily find them on my website. But I wanted to say that I love that idea of teaching evenings, Pam. And that would be so perfect for me because I work as a full-time job outside of my Reiki practice. Hey, that's a great idea.
thank you. What happened is that in Canada, it's not as difficult for people to get time off. We have a bit more holidays than a lot of our cousins in the States do.
Nice.
But I realized I've had different people when taught through the week say, thank you for not teaching weekends. I'm never available on weekends. And so I thought,
Mm,
and when I was entering politics and thought, okay, how am I going to keep teaching? But the Reiki energy clearly showed me that evenings are actually more accessible for a lot of
a
people.
lot of people.
A lot of
That's
people.
true.
And then teaching in Asia, I got used to getting up very early in the mornings, like teaching at
Mhm.
4 or 5 a.m. my time, which would be
Wow.
4 or 5 p.m. in Asia or 5 or 6 p.m. in Asia. And I got used to teaching for 4.5 hours at a stretch where you don't have to break for such a long meal and you can just take a short break. And
Yeah,
I found it was really effective.
it
And
makes sense.
it did. And I really loved how the class flowed when
Mhm.
we broke it up that way. So I'm really grateful to my student Ken Lok-Shung for suggesting it. And it was the only way to do it because
What a smart guy he is,
he's
right?
a smart guy. He is a smart guy. I love mentoring him and Ting. And they both showed me that because I couldn't stay up all night to teach because my brain just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
We had to teach the shorter courses. And as I got doing it, I realized, wow, this is a nice way.
Hmm.
So I'm excited to start doing that in North America now.
Yeah, that sounds great. I might copy your idea.
I hope so. That's awesome, Tracy. I love it. And we will put a link to your website as well in the
Sure.
podcast
Thanks.
notes so that anybody, if you didn't catch that, you'll be able to get a hold of Tracy. And you teach out of Connecticut, Tracy.
Yes, I teach out of Connecticut. I teach online. So a lot of my classes have been in person and online. So they're hybrid classes. So you could take a class from anywhere. I do typically teach on the weekends because of my job. I have taught in New Jersey and New York. So I have taught out of Connecticut, but 95% of my teaching in person is here in Connecticut.
And I'll be doing some hybrid classes at the level 1 and 2 level in April here at the farm and online. It will be a
Oh,
hybrid
nice.
class, like you mentioned. But I
Hmm.
find if I'm going to be doing the evening classes for the master level, I'll just keep that online. When it's
Online. Yeah.
weekend, people are welcome to come in person, but in the winter, we have to do online because it's just too, yeah, we don't know if we're going to be able to get
Too
here.
risky.
Too risky.
At least
Exactly.
for us in the areas that we live in.
That's right. So, everyone, before we go too far with this, I'm going to invite everyone to go ahead and bring your hands into gas show. And if you'd like to draw or just imagine any of the Reiki symbols that you'd like to bring in for guidance today, we're going to talk about this new course, but we're also going to lead you in an experience with it that will just help you feel the difference in the energy and know whether or not this is a course that is for you. But in the meantime, it never hurts to ask Reiki to work with us and guide us, even as we listen, so that we can listen with intention and hear the parts that are meant for us. So, just going ahead and taking a deep breath, bringing in all of your Reiki symbols that you feel guided to. I just like to let you know that you already are whole, you already are healthy. And that's one of the key messages that Tracey and I have been receiving as we've worked on this course. And that there's an amazing group of enlightened beings called the Divine Healers. These are enlightened beings from every tradition who had the calling to be a healer, and maybe you've had that calling. And these enlightened beings are here supporting us today. Of course, they'll never work against anyone's free will, but if you'd like to call upon their assistance, they're available. And so just feel yourself surrounded by this group of enlightened healers. These are healers throughout the ages from every tradition who have achieved enlightenment and yet who also had the calling, that deep, unequivocal calling that can't be ignored to heal and help others. And they're here to share with us information from every tradition, information from the enlightened realms. And so just asking yourself if you're open to receive, if you're open to health, if you're open to healing. Because another key message in this is that it's important for us as healers, as Reiki practitioners. We're not doing the healing, but we are facilitating it. It's important for us to be in a state of health and healing. So ask yourself, am I open to being healthy? Are the conditions or illnesses or symptoms that I experience, are they serving a purpose? And if not, even as you listen to this podcast, we invite you to make a decision to let them go. And if they are, you may want to dig further into that at another date and decide if they're still helpful, if the purpose that they're serving is still one that you need in your life. And so we form an intention today to move into a place of wholeness, of health and healing. And we say thank you to Yusui Sensei and the teachers who've come before us that make this possible for us to work with this energy. This for Sensei and the teachers who come before us and make this possible. Check it out. To achieve this. We've just had a little reminder about how technology is very eager to help us with with this. But we say thank you to the teachers who come before us and to the descendants who will carry on our work after we are done. We are so blessed to be of this lineage of light bringers and way showers who are creating wellness on the earth today. Thank you for being the light that you are and for raising the vibration of the whole earth by shining your light and continually working to raise your own vibration. Namaste.
Thank you, Pam. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Tracy. We've just been meeting on or healthcare Reiki, and we meet on healthcare Reiki every Friday morning, quite very early for you, Tracy, early enough for me.
Yeah.
8 a.m. for me and 7 a.m. for you. And we've been meeting for over a year now, so it's exciting that we get to
Mhm.
share this energy with folks today. Tracy, from your standpoint, and I'll answer this too after you're done, but this healthcare Reiki really started with you. Um, what was the initial inspiration behind creating this course? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, sure, sure. Hi everyone. I'm happy to share a bit of my journey and how my journey includes in creating this Reiki class specifically designed to be used in healthcare. It's really been a long time in the making and inspired by many years of personal experiences that I've had and some really powerful, consistent, and incredible encouragement that I have received along the way on my journey. So I guess I would say the initial spark for this, the initial inspiration for this project, I like to call it, came from a desire to bring a healthcare Reiki course into the college setting. So that was my original intention for this. I had this idea years ago, and I even created an outline. I investigated who I needed to talk to and what steps I needed to take to implement this into, and it was a community college where I actually teach at now that I wanted to bring this course into. But to be honest, I did not move forward with it after I had my outline and I knew what steps I was supposed to take, and then it stopped there. And then a few years ago, Karen Harrison, who is another one of the licensed Reiki master teachers, and she's one of the senior teachers, and she was my mentor when I first came into the LRMT program. A few years ago, Karen reached out to me with a suggestion that kind of rekindled my passion for this project. And Karen actually encouraged me to develop a Reiki class focused on the healthcare setting. I sent Karen my original outline, and Karen, she was like, go for it, develop it. And she actually believed in the idea and she believed in me. So, as evidenced by the fact that she reached out to me a few different times because nothing came to fruition in my, yeah. One thing, like a little side note for those of you that know what human design is, I'm a projector. So, projectors are people that they thrive best and they're in their authentic self best when they're recognized and invited. So I also have what's called emotional authority. So I need to wait out a wave. Like I don't make decisions like right away. I look back on this and I was definitely recognized and invited by Karen and definitely waited out a long emotional wave before I actually started working on this project. But before I continue on with the people that were involved, I'll just add a little bit about my own personal experience and behind the idea. And like my original motivation for creating the course came from my own experience with Reiki and healthcare. From the very beginning of my journey as a Reiki practitioner, and just a couple months after becoming a Reiki 1 practitioner, I started volunteering at a couple of nursing homes, and I loved it. It felt so fulfilling to bring this practice to residents, even though I was very new. I just knew instinctively that this was something that was going to be very powerful in my own life, but in the healthcare setting. So I continued working at these nursing homes for several years. And even then, I felt this profound energy that at the time I associated with volunteering, like an energy of volunteering, because I felt this distinct energy whenever I offered Reiki in a healthcare setting. And at the time, all of my offerings in the setting were on a volunteer basis. Although I eventually started to be paid in the healthcare setting to teach Reiki classes. So at the same time that I was doing the volunteering at the nursing home, I began volunteering at Yale New Haven Hospital, where I eventually started teaching Reiki to the staff and volunteers. I spent several years teaching there until the pandemic shifted everything. And during that time, I transitioned to online teaching, like so many people did. And eventually, and the those classes also transitioned to online for Reiki 1. But eventually, I don't think she minds if I mention her name, but Fernanda, who is the coordinator for volunteers at Yale New Haven Hospital, and who was the person that brought me in to teach Reiki classes, eventually Fernanda took over teaching the classes, which was a perfect transition for her because, like I said, she is the coordinator for the volunteers and for the Reiki volunteer program. I guess my journey really didn't stop there. I continued volunteering at other nursing homes and also took Reiki to community events. I organized a race for 9 years that all the money went to the Reiki program at Yale. And I also brought Reiki to the race. So there'd be Reiki practitioners at the race, and this was all focused on the healthcare setting. So it was a learning experience for a lot of people because the energy of the race, you could feel this beautiful energy, and people that were not involved in Reiki at all would comment on that. And looking back now, I really feel like that energy is what we're experiencing today, but today I feel like it's much more powerful. So each of these experiences strengthened my belief in the value of Reiki in the healthcare setting. But Pam, despite all of this experience, it wasn't until you reached out to me and you started setting up meetings that this course actually finally began to take shape. Your encouragement and your persistence were the catalyst that I needed to actually, with you, bring this vision to life. So I'm just so grateful for your support and your partnership and for the opportunity to combine my passion for Reiki with my experiences in healthcare. It's been an amazing journey so far, and I can't wait to see how this course helps to bridge the gap between Reiki and the healthcare field and beyond, because I think, Pam, we've discovered that this is like beyond the healthcare field, that it is going to affect people even outside of healthcare. So, one last thing I want to say on that is if you've ever had an idea or project that it's been sitting in the back of your mind, I encourage you to revisit it. Sometimes you just need a little nudge, right? Or a few nudges. But yes, basically how the whole thing came to life for me.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, sure.
I'll mention what happened for me was that I was aware that you were considering doing this. I had attended some presentations that you had given on healthcare Reiki and or just
Mhm.
on offering Reiki in medical settings. And I remember from the first time you offered Reiki to another, you were actually invited. You were asked. It was a
Yeah.
coworker. You work in the medical
Mhm.
setting as an
Nuclear medicine technologist, yeah.
technologist, and you teach nuclear medicine
Mhm.
technology at the community college. And it was one of your colleagues who actually had a headache and asked for Reiki. And you were
Yeah,
very shy at first, but you did offer it. And then all of your colleagues were asking for Reiki. So you've been
that's
involved
right.
in Reiki in a medical setting from the start. For me, it was a little different. Obviously, I worked with people who had medical conditions in my Reiki practice, but I wasn't working in a formal medical setting. So it was a little bit surprising when energetically at the Reiki retreat a year and a half ago, I got a tap on the shoulder and I was speaking with Dr. Ann Baldwin, who wrote two marvelous books that I'd like to recommend. One is Reiki in Clinical Practice, which just as
Mhm.
a scientist, for me, I love it. It brings a lot of the science together around Reiki and
Mhm.
it bridges that gap for us. And Dr. Baldwin is also the head of the Center for Reiki Research. I'm not sure what her actual title is, but we all rely on Dr. Baldwin with regards to setting up experiments, and
Mhm.
team at the Center for Reiki Research peer reviews articles that are written in medical journals and this sort of thing. And we know that that there are formal Reiki programs in over 800 hospitals in the United States. So we definitely know that it's already happening, that it's there. But after attending Dr. Baldwin's presentation, which I do every year, she and I were having dinner together afterward, and it was the first Reiki retreat after COVID, after things opened up from
Mhm.
COVID and the first in-person one. And I said, wow, I'm being very strongly guided to get myself, and Tracey Sullivan together to create Healthcare Reiki. And I didn't know really what my role was. And after we did get together for that initial meeting, Dr. Baldwin, we realized that with the time zone differences and all
Mhm.
three of us have incredibly busy schedules. She recommended that Tracy and I continue and just bring her in on a consulting basis and utilize some of the information in her groundbreaking books. Her second book
Mhm.
is The Vagus Nerve, and just about how the vagal nerve being a governing nerve in the body. And before I even read that was already showing up to us in healthcare
Mhm.
Reiki. The vagus nerve was important. And I was just really, because I hadn't worked in formal healthcare settings, I was, what is my role here? I couldn't but I had been involved with creating a Reiki course before, and I know how to listen very deeply in the energy and even guide other people to listen in the energy. And Tracy, I guess you and I just started meeting every week, and I still kept asking, like, why am I here? I don't have the resume to be here, but it has been a phenomenal experience. It reminds me of the ICRT animal Reiki training that I was able to work on with Colleen Benelli, Sue Strong, and Robin Benelli, in the sense that it's not something that we've been dictating. I've been able to just use that experience to guide us through just
Mhm.
listening to the energy, listening to the divine healers, asking what are they bringing to us? What are they bringing forward? And we've been able to just listen from a very high vibration, a very high plane, and
Mhm.
it's blown us away a little bit, Tracy. So I'm starting to accept
Yeah.
that I do have a role in this.
Yeah, I never had a doubt. I always knew what your role was. We're
Yeah,
partners.
I didn't quite get it. And then you did let me know that from a human design perspective, I'm a generator. I get a lot of things
Mhm.
done. And it
Yes.
really is helpful for projectors and generators to work together, things with more depth. And I just kind of get in and get things to happen.
Yeah, I think that just you and we work well together.
We
And
do.
that is shown in our charts as well. There could be projectors and generators that don't work well together, but you and I don't fall into that category.
I think I don't totally understand human design, but I know that you've said that I finish some of your lines and you finish some of mine and things like
Yeah, we
that.
complement each other in ways that make it easy for us to work together, for sure.
And it is fun. I look forward to our time every Friday
Me too.
together, and just phenomenal what we've been listening to and what we've been
Mhm.
hearing. So just moving on then, Tracy, what would you say? How would you describe healthcare Reiki? How is it different from traditional Reiki courses? What makes it unique and special? And when I say that, I do want to put a caveat in that there is absolutely nothing wrong with using the Reiki that you already have in healthcare settings. If that's what you're doing, continue doing it. And if that's what
Mhm.
you're guided to do, this is available for just for people who, yeah, who are guided to take things in this direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I think we both came into this or ended up in a mindset that we're guided to do this. And maybe the reason is not fully even there yet, but we're just really grounded in just bringing it forward. So yeah, it is. Did you want to say anything else, Pam, or?
No, just what do you think? What makes this unique? Because it is very
Mhm.
different from
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what we've learned so
Well,
far, what we've been teaching so far in regular Reiki classes.
yeah, for sure. For a few different things, but a couple that I'll focus on. First, the course is designed to provide everything you need to start a Reiki program in a hospital. This is like the practical part of it. In a hospital or in another healthcare setting, not just hospitals,
Not
because
just
there's a lot
hospitals.
of care settings out there.
There's nursing
Um,
homes, hospice,
it's
outpatient clinics,
home care,
holistic,
absolutely.
oncology units. There's just so many places that this can be
Mhm.
offered. Yeah.
Yeah, so the course is being designed to address that. This includes comprehensive materials, information, and training tailored to meet the requirements of these different healthcare environments. So for me, for my part, I'm drawing from my experience as a program and clinical coordinator of this nuclear medicine program that you spoke of earlier, Pam, that I'm the director of. So, because of this experience, I understand the clinical standards expected of students and of both volunteers and staff members in these settings because they're all held to the same standards, whether you are an employee, a volunteer, or a student. They all
Right.
have the same requirements to come into the healthcare setting to work with patients. So to support this, I've taken what forms that I've used in the clinical setting at the school and developed like specialized forms and protocols, which you have been working more with the protocols specific to healthcare Reiki. And then I think our one of our dreams is
Yes.
at the master level to establish clinical sites where students can gain hands-on experience. So not only will we provide everything that you would need practically to be able to bring students into the healthcare setting, those students would also, and anybody that wants to be like the one that is setting up the program will have the experience in the self healthcare setting of doing that. Additionally, the didactic or the learning portion of the course delves a little bit deeper into anatomy and physiology than you would in a typical Reiki 1 and 2 class. So it's offering more of a robust understanding that complements the practice of healthcare Reiki. Um, Another unique aspect of this course is the inclusion of an energy that, while not new, has recently become more accessible, I think, in a unique way through this. I think you would you agree with that statement, Pam?
It has its own symbols, and we've been
Hmm.
spending time getting to know them and what they do. And honestly, we've been a little bit blown away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the only
It,
way I can describe it. We've been like, wow, I can't believe
yeah.
this. And we
So
feel very fortunate to be the ones that get to listen. And yeah,
absolutely. Yes, that's like how it's been coming in this unique way. And I see it as part of our collective, I guess, evolution and opportunity to work with the energy at a deeper, more transformative way.
yeah,
Just to kind of one more thing about the difference between this course and a typical Reiki 1 and 2 course, we do place, as I alluded to, we place a stronger emphasis on anatomy and physiology because the energy works, this energy works with the core of our being, our
yeah,
DNA.
yeah.
The way that I describe it and see it from my own experience is that it starts by filtering out fear, both known and unknown. And this is significant because fear acts like a glue, binding us to these aspects of ourselves that don't really truly reflect who we are. And many of us have such a hard time softening up that glue and releasing those fears.
Or even
And
being aware that they're there, Tracy. We're not always
yes,
aware that they're there.
exactly. The
Yeah.
awareness that they're there. That's, yes, that's tr so true. And I guess my background in nuclear medicine and my understanding of the energy in general have deeply influenced how I view and approach this work. And in my opinion, that might be something that really truly makes it a unique offering in the field of Reiki. So those are the main things that I would use, ideas or parts of the course that I would speak to that kind of distinguish it from a Reiki 1 and 2 class.
And one of the things I'll add is just that it's very clear to us that a Reiki 1 and 2 class is a prerequisite to this. So
Hmm.
this course is basically building on what you have already learned. And so we don't go back to the basics, like you do need the basics of the energy, how to work with energy, the Usui Reiki, and then this class just builds on it. But one of the things I love, Tracy, and this is the scientist in me, is just that we've been guided as we go through to both listen and address the intuitive side of things, but also to put together things like the protocols and the guidelines and
Hmm.
guiding principles and things like that that I think are going to help people get into these more formal settings easier. And we are talking at length in the class just about how to do that and
Hmm.
how to approach it. And ideally, although just like ideally, we would like to set up clinics where people can actually go and train.
Yeah.
We know that's a little ways out. We know that's just, we're letting you know about it now. And yet I know we'll need to start teaching the course before those are in place. But that is our goal to eventually get those in place in both Canada and the United States and anywhere else that we have
Hmm.
partners in the medical field. Um, but yeah, ideally, I actually was explaining this to somebody recently, and I said, I actually believe this is going to revolutionize healthcare because there is becoming a greater understanding that everything is energy, and much of our diagnostic equipment measures energy in order to diagnose. And there is becoming a greater understanding that the vagus nerve is a governing nerve. And so I think this is going to help us bridge some gaps so that this can really complement healthcare. It's not meant to be alternative. It's not meant to take the place of it. It's meant to complement what's
Hmm.
already there. And I know that's an important lesson that I've learned in my practice, that sometimes people have wanted to use Reiki in the place of medication or whatever else. And the energy has said the medication is there for a reason. And we
Hmm.
sometimes get hung up on things man-made versus natural. And one time the earth said, I think it was to Colleen, but it really resonated with me. Everything came from me, right? You call it man-made, but it still came. from me. It is natural. Everything you're creating is
That's a
natural.
good point.
And in fact, one of the symbols that I'm very excited about is a symbol that actually does tap into the plant world and
Mhm,
helps adjust the energy and the vibration of medication that you are already taking or that a client is already taking to make it more compatible with them and
mhm.
also bring in any additional frequencies they need. So there's just, I don't know, there's so much to unpack here. I know we can't unpack it all.
Yes.
But those are
Great
a couple of
things.
the things. And I love the fact that we both received very strong messages right from the beginning
Hmm.
that the practitioner needs to be in a place of health in order to wield this energy. And
Hmm.
so we noticed that many of the experiences, even in the very first level one and two class, because there will be a level one and two and a master teacher class, even in that first level one and two class, many of the experiences are moving us into a place of health. And I don't know about you, but I'm noticing it in my own life that some
Sure.
little conditions that I've been managing since I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia back in my
Mm,
20s. No, you're not going to manage them anymore. It's time to completely heal them and
mm,
release them. So I just love that aspect of it, that taking the
yeah,
course will actually move the students into a place of
yeah. Yeah, that I agree that is such a important part of this is the working on yourself first. And in the first class, the Reiki, Healthcare Reiki 1 really is focused on that. And
yeah,
for me, going through this, it's been a lot about fear and releasing a lot of different fears that I've had in my life. And I think that's why this whole experience that we're going to be doing in a few minutes came through is because it's all about releasing fear.
yeah.
And I had quite a few to release.
Many
So
of us do. I definitely benefited from this experience, Tracy. Yeah. Found fears that I wasn't even aware were there.
yes, that's the crazy
That was a
thing
big,
is that there's so many times people don't associate what they're experiencing, with fear that is living in some part of their being. And a lot of times it's because they're not aware of it. And you were just on target. It's our awareness. When we're aware of it, it starts to loosen up that glue, and this energy like really works to help the our being to release these fears. And it aligns us with our what we call in Holy Fire Reiki, our authentic self, our true being, our true trajectory in this life. So,
we've realized, Tracy, there have been so many messages around the fact that our authentic selves are not ill, they're healthy, they're whole, they're perfect, they're capable of anything. And it's
mm,
really shown us how much this glue holds limiting beliefs to us and things like that. It's been life-changing working on this with you.
yes, I
I
know.
love
I
it.
feel the same, Pam.
One of the questions people ask, is this only for healthcare professionals? Who can take this course? And it's really healthcare professionals will probably love it, but
Mhm.
anybody can really take it, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Reiki practitioners can benefit from it in a lot of different ways, whether they work in healthcare, aspire to integrate Reiki rather into healthcare, or those people that don't have any interest in being in healthcare at all, because there's many people who just being in a healthcare setting just is not something that they want to do. Um, and this is just as much for those people. Healthcare in this context I think we've come to the conclusion that healthcare in this context encompasses all aspects of self-care and supporting others in ways that align with any particular individual's calling. For healthcare workers, this practice offers elements that will seamlessly integrate into their workflow. And I think additionally, there's diverse approaches using Reiki and also acknowledging that each person interacts differently with the energy in their own unique way. And I think we're finding that out through using this energy with our clients, Pam.
Yeah.
It's very unique. So for those reasons, I would say that it would benefit anybody who feels guided to take it.
And it might even be somebody who just wants to move into health for themselves, or maybe help
Mhm.
family or people that they're close to. But you cannot ignore the self. When
I
you
know.
get into this, the
As
energy
much
just,
as you might want to.
the energy's no, we're going to deal with you first and get you into a place of health. Then we'll talk about other people. I love that. What do
Yeah,
you
and
feel?
I think,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, just one more thing. I think that it's not like we have to be like 100% release all our
No,
fear and be perfectly healthy. It is the fact that we're moving towards that,
moving
which
into a place of
means
health.
that in any given moment, we are as 100% as we can be in that moment. And
That's
that's perfect for us in that moment,
Yeah, that's
is
a
the way that I
really
see
good
it.
point. Yeah, because yeah, it's going to be it's a journey, but I do find it's been profound. Tracy, having worked in a lot of healthcare settings, what are some of the most common challenges healthcare professionals face that this energy can help them with? What do you think?
I think that what I would say to that is thinking back on the challenges that I've experienced myself as a healthcare provider. And I was an LPN for 10 years. I was a medic in the military for 4 years and then an LPN for 10 years, and then worked in a nuclear medicine, very busy nuclear medicine department. And when I think about the challenges that I faced and that I've seen my coworkers face, I would say that they're all rooted in stress and fear. And these things that are really not a part of our who we authentically are, those are the things that have led to other things like disagreements with coworkers, physical problems that we might experience, stress in the workplace over time will can lead to physical disabilities. And I've seen this in my own practice. Not, I don't think that has happened to me, but I've had some coworkers who really experienced some devastating physical disabilities, which started out as from stress in the
Sure.
workplace. And probably, if you're having that much stress in your workplace, it's probably carrying over into other parts of your life as well. So I think that it's not like a question that I can answer with specific things that might happen to a person, but that the root challenges that healthcare professionals face, which is the root of challenges that we face in everyday life, some of us to more of an extent than others. It's all rooted in stress and fear. And those are the things that I think that this energy is really targeting when a person is experiencing the energy. So I know that's a general answer to the question. Um,
But it's not just something that can help patients, is what I'm hearing you say. It's also something that can help healthcare workers as well. And your call.
oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think by helping healthcare workers, you are helping patients as well, even if you don't actually give a patient Reiki, if you're not like leading them in a short meditation or anything, you being a healthier, less stressed, less fearful healthcare provider is giving them something that they wouldn't have received if you hadn't taken those steps to caring for yourself. That's the biggest lesson that I've learned in the years that I've worked in the healthcare setting. And I can look back and see how as I started my Reiki practice, and as I became more and more devoted to it, and it became a part of who I am and just a natural part of my life, it spilled out over to my patients in everyday things like the words that I would choose to say to the patients.
Wow.
It was like Reiki would be speaking, and it would be things that would help whatever situation the patient was going through. And I don't think that's uncommon. I think that it happens to many people in healthcare, and especially when they have a spiritual practice. And my instincts, my feeling is that this particular energy is even more profound in
In
spilling
addressing that,
out over into
addressing,
from practitioner to patient.
yeah, yeah. You make me think that you and I were guided during COVID to get together and share the compassion fatigue experience for healthcare workers because so many healthcare
Mm,
workers were struggling with compassion fatigue at that
yes.
time. And I remember one of your coworkers who gave us permission to tell her story that she was ready to quit. And then just listening to that meditation that you had recorded for her allowed her to manage the stress,
Hmm.
the compassion fatigue that she was experiencing and
Hmm.
her profession. So it can be profound. I think you're right. And Tracy, can we share a couple of the key techniques that can be immediately applied in healthcare settings? And I'm thinking of, even without this course, are there things in healthcare settings that people that just have Reiki can do? And then we can follow up with things that have been specific to this course that can be helpful.
Yeah, as we've already really talked about, taking care of yourself first. And that could be anything like doing a short, in this course, we're going to be offering short meditations that you can do before going on a shift or after coming off a shift or on your lunch break or just a quick break that you might have, and ones to offer to patients as well. But the main thing, number one, is to focus on yourself. And the other is to realize that you can offer, bring this energy into the healthcare setting without actually, doing a Reiki session on one of your patients or sharing a meditation. The Reiki, you can intend for that Reiki to flow through with your words, to flow through with your eyesight as you're looking at the patient. And anything that with your touch in healthcare, we're often touching patients. And as we grow, and this energy is flowing from us, whether we don't really have to intend for it to do that, it will just automatically flow through us, and it flows through us in a way that is needed at the time. So it's very dynamic. So to not try to like force anything, force any outcome, or not work. It's not meant to be like additional work for you. It's something, and Colleen Benelli actually said this to me, and it just comes to mind. It's actually meant to free you up to share something that is very easy to share and very powerful. So there's no responsibility associated with it. It is something to free you up as a healthcare provider to help yourself and others. There's relaxation and grounding techniques. There's that, I won't go through the specific techniques unless you want me to, but we do
Oh,
have
yeah.
them customized for the hospital setting and for clinics and outpatient settings, long-term care facilities. There's also techniques that address specific patient needs. So we address specific places, types of places, and then specific patient needs like chronic pain and stress relief, emotional and mental well-being. And then we have specific things to support healthcare providers, like mindful caregiving. And this would be an example would be like providers can use this meditation to process to ground themselves before interacting with patients, ensuring that they bring a calm, centered presence into their caregiving. And this could actually help to prevent burnout and emotional fatigue. So, the thing that we're using with all of these is the energy of the symbols.
Yeah.
So, that's like really the driving force of this. This is the shell of how we're able to allow this, allow healthcare providers to bring this energy into these settings in very easy ways.
Yeah.
Even if it's not healthcare Reiki, you can do with Reiki in general.
With Reiki in general. And one of the things as I was listening to you, Tracey, the question of permission, I think, might be on some of the listeners' minds. And one of the things we noticed is that I know even as I began teaching, people that were doctors and nurses and psychologists and so on that I trained would say, wait, I didn't ask permission and I'm noticing the Reiki flowing as soon as I touch a client, or it's flowing through my words, or it's flowing from my eyes. And I didn't have
Mhm.
permission. I didn't ask for that. And what we realized is that Reiki was discerning the permission because, of course, Reiki would never go against anyone's free will. So if you are wondering as a healthcare provider, and I've teaching animal Reiki, I've had veterinarians and veterinary technicians tell me like, wait a minute, I didn't mean for it to flow. I didn't have permission and it was flowing. And I
Mhm.
said, look, it's just like Reiki with the doctors and nurses and dietitians and so on. People are coming to you asking for your help if Reiki discerns that they are open to receiving Reiki as part of it, then you will notice it spontaneously start to flow. So I
Mhm.
encourage people who are in healthcare with animals or with human animals or with four-legged and furred animals to just understand that you can allow Reiki to discern where it is welcome and where it is not. And there are times, and nurses and doctors and so on that I've trained have said, wow, like some of my clients it flows and some of them it doesn't. And it's okay. That's just, I think that's Reiki telling you that person wouldn't be interested or doesn't want to receive Reiki and this person does.
Yeah, I think I would definitely agree with that as far as the flow of energy goes. I think permission in my practice, in my belief system, because everybody has their own beliefs about that. I feel that the permission comes in when we're adding in our words, when we're adding in a meditation or
Yeah.
we're talking.
If we're doing
Yes,
something more
so
formal, we would need
yes,
permission.
yes. But I totally agree, Pam, that yeah, the energy just starts to flow. And that's something that I learned very profoundly in my experience with patients when I was one-on-one on with them in the we would have to interview them. And in our discussions one on one, I could feel the energy flowing, and I did not. I wasn't even thinking about Reiki. I
When
was
you weren't
fully
asking it to,
focused
it
on
just
the
started
patient.
spontaneously flowing, didn't it?
Yes. And what something just occurred to me that when I just said that it was when I was like fully focused on the patient is when it would start flowing. When we are, that tells me that you're very present. When you're very present in the moment and don't have, you have two patients that are waiting for you or whatever, and you're not focused on that, you're focused
On the
on the
patient in
patient
front
that
of
you're
you.
with,
Yeah.
you open up a whole, you open up the door for Reiki to flow and guide that situation when you take the stress out of it and the
That's
fear. So it
uh,
all goes back to that, I think.
and one of the other things that the energy told us is that many people who are maybe maybe they're not healthcare practitioners. And so a healthcare setting is new for them. The energy was clear that one place they might struggle is being in that chaotic environment and needing to typically when we have people in our Reiki rooms, it's quiet, there's meditation music. So how do you have the energy flow when you're in the midst of chaos? And actually, we were given an experience that helps, like you said, just ground
Mhm.
people, allow them to stay calm
Yes.
in the chaos. And that's been helping me a lot with politics. And
I'm sure it has. I think it may be even more chaotic in politics these
it
days
might be.
than in healthcare.
Yes, it is possible. Oh, yeah, it's possible. And ideally, one of the things we'd love to see is we'd love to see people get paid in healthcare settings. So we
Oh,
are going to
yes.
talk about it
Mhm.
from both standpoints, volunteer programs, and
Mhm.
then with the idea of eventually moving to paid programs. A lot of the 800 hospitals that have programs, a lot of those are volunteer programs, and that's
Mhm.
great. But I think if we can get even more formal and have more integrate a little bit that more with the medical systems. Hopefully, eventually, that's where we'd like to go too.
I think it will naturally evolve to that.
I think it will.
I don't, my feeling is that it's not going to take, it will be much more natural and much more natural process than maybe we're thinking
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
I do think that's changing.
yes,
And the volunteers, and I love volunteering, and volunteers, they're the reason why there's people getting paid
yes,
in healthcare doing Reiki. It wouldn't have happened if we didn't have all the volunteers that went in and offered this beautiful Reiki to patients in so many different settings for so many years now. So that they're the reason why it's like a mutation almost, right? From one thing to another.
exactly. And you know something with that, I just want to give a shout out to all of the people that have been teaching Reiki in healthcare settings up to now, even though I realize
Mm.
what we're listening to and receiving may be unique, it's building on the shoulders of that. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. Without those volunteers, without those people that have already been working to establish Reiki
Yeah,
in healthcare settings, what we're doing, the world wouldn't be ready for it. It's
yeah,
just a real hats off to all of those who've been pioneering in this
yeah,
area up till now. And if you're
absolutely.
one of those people, thank you.
Actually a joy.
It is, right? It is. So listen, Tracy, what benefits have you seen, and do you have any kind of sort of fun stories to share? Things that you've noticed up to now working with this energy and in the healthcare setting?
Well, with Reiki in the healthcare setting, the healthcare energy or Reiki in general in the healthcare
Oh,
setting?
maybe. Yeah, because I know,
Yeah,
just like
I've
with
had.
animal Reiki, initially we were just using the Reiki we already had with animals. And so
Mhm.
initially you were using the Reiki you already had. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I have like tons of stories of Reiki in the healthcare setting. So the one that I tell whenever I'm asked about a powerful story about Reiki in the healthcare setting with a patient is a woman that I met because I was doing her PET scans. She had cancer and she would always request for me to do her scan. We became friendly and she really relied on me for, I don't know, her comfort while she was there getting her scan because it's very stressful
Yeah.
to see if they have any cancer cells have come back or how their treatment's doing. So she would come and she was cancer free for a while and she came back. She had esophageal cancer. She came back on a follow-up scan and they found breast cancer. So she had to have chemotherapy and she kept getting sick. And they had to stop her treatment. They would have to admit her, bring her to the ER, and just she could not tolerate the chemotherapy that she needed for the breast cancer. And she had known about Reiki. I told her when I first learned Reiki that I became a Reiki practitioner, and she had actually had a bad experience with Reiki in the
Reiki.
past. She said that one of her friends was a Reiki practitioner, and when she first found out she had cancer the first time, she started giving her Reiki without asking her, so it really freaked her
Oh,
out. So
yeah.
when I told her about the fact that I learned Reiki, she was like, "Oh, that's nice." We never talked about it again. So this is years later now. She has breast cancer and all this is happening to her. And she contacted me and she asked me if I could come to her chemo treatment and give her Reiki. And this is somebody who was having like allergic reactions to the chemotherapy. So I went there. I was working at Yale at the time. So on my lunch break, I would go there and give her Reiki on the days she was receiving chemo. And on that first day, she had a beautiful experience as she was receiving chemotherapy. She had a beautiful experience. She did not react to the chemotherapy. She never again reacted to the chemotherapy. I would go there every time she had a treatment and give her Reiki. And on that first day that I did this, she told me that she had this vision of all the people that she loved that had passed away and even people that didn't get along in real life, they were all there together and they were all depositing gold into this big pot in front of her. And she said it was
Wait.
the most beautiful experience. And she is now cancer free
Oh my
and
God.
she's retired and she was a nurse manager, so she was very much into healthcare her whole career. Yet she had an aversion to Reiki, but this experience for her, she learned a lot about Reiki and a lot about healing, and it taught me so much about the power of Reiki in the healthcare setting. She's doing great. And I've had other patients as well who have had similar experiences, not as profound as the one that she had. And then just one about staff members that I'll share that I've shared before. You might have even heard this about, I think maybe you actually mentioned it earlier. This was one of my coworkers that was angry. She was fighting with one of my other coworkers,
Ooh.
and yes, you did mention it because this is the first time I offered Reiki in the healthcare setting, and I was very like apprehensive,
Yeah.
and it really changed things for her. Excuse me. And it released her anger, and she thought I hypnotized her. But I explained to her this is the Reiki, this is what Reiki does. And from that experience, a lot of people in my department and other departments in diagnostic radiology ended up being like educated on the benefits of a practice like this in the healthcare setting. And now since we started, excuse me,
That's all right.
since we've started this, I've been working with some of my clients that have had particularly difficult conditions that they're dealing with. And I'm in the process of doing this now, and I'm keeping track of it. We both are
Yeah.
doing this, keeping track of there's how the sessions are going with them. Sorry, I ran out of water. And so far, it's been really powerful.
Yeah,
And we'll maybe do another podcast sometime where there'll be more concrete information on those outcomes.
definitely. Well, and something else, I haven't been in formal healthcare settings, just within my practice. I've been very blessed to have had people who've been diagnosed with terminal cancer who are still around today and
Mhm.
who many years later and who are doing all right and no evidence of disease. And that doesn't always happen. You can't, I've also lost clients as well, but when that has happened, the energy helped them transition easier and
Mhm.
assisted with help their families and things like that. So and also I've just watched really chronic illnesses that couldn't be turned around with no matter what. And I've watched that turn around. So I know the power of this, and it's exciting that we get to apply it in these settings. Yeah,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
Tracey, we know that not only can this help with physical healing, it's also working emotionally and mentally. Let's just share our ultimate vision for this course and what we believe is possible in transforming healthcare and expanding the role of Reiki in healing. And after that, we'll move into a meditation. But we've we've both have a really interesting vision for it. How would you describe that?
Yeah, I have to say that my vision is just very dynamic and has been changing as we interact more with the energy. So what started out as something that was very concrete and in very structured, I feel now is has become unstructured in a sense. It's got a lot of structure to it within it, but it's within a growing, it's expanding and growing. And I think my opinion is that it's doing so because we are not putting it in a box. We're allowing it to be what it is and just going along for the ride. So I took my vision of what I thought that I wanted it to be, because just those words, what I wanted it to be, really don't have anything to do with what it is and what it's unfolding to be. So that is how my ultimate vision for this is to have the humility and the instincts, or whatever you want to call it, to continue to allow it to just flow and let it lead instead of trying to lead it. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
it does. And that's what we've been doing. And I would agree with you in doing that, in allowing the energy to lead us rather than the other way around. I think we both had to look at the fact that, oh, beyond what we were thinking it would be. This is beyond
Yes.
what we expected. And
Mhm.
that's not totally surprising to me. That's how animal Reiki was. We went in with a certain
Mhm.
expectation, and the energy was so much more expansive than what we thought it was going to be. And so
Mhm.
once again, that has happened. But I do really believe that it's like what you said before, the foundation has been laid. And the world is ready for this right now. The world is ready for a much more expanded view of what is possible
Mhm.
with Reiki in healthcare, and that's why we're here.
Yes. Yes. And how lucky are we to be here?
We are so lucky, so lucky. Guys, as we wrap up this podcast, and I am going to be holding a Reiki share in the future, or a podcast where if you have questions about this, please feel free to send them to myself or Tracey. We are going to hold a Reiki share where people can ask us questions about the energy. That'll probably be in the month of February or March. And again, the pilot class and the in-person class, the pilot class online and the in-person class will be happening in the month of April. We would love to have you join us if that speaks to you. We will be submitting this to the ICRT to see if it is a course that is appropriate for the ICRT to offer. That has been on our minds the whole time without expectation. It may or may not fit in with the parameters that the ICRT supports, and we're fine with that. We will teach it
Absolutely.
regardless, and if it does become an ICRT class, then that'll be even better because it will mean that it can spread to more people and be more use on the planet, do more. So I think that's probably where it's going. Would you agree?
Oh,
Tracey?
yeah, I'm all for everything that you just said. And I also believe that it's going to move in the direction that
Moves.
is going to be what's going to be best. And maybe we don't know what that is at this time. Yeah,
Just keeps expanding, doesn't it? When we think we have a handle on it, it expands even more.
yeah, I'm open to anything at this point.
I love it. Yeah, definitely a lesson in not being attached to outcomes. We're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm.
Guys, I would love to introduce you to an experience that Tracy dreamed many years ago. And we're going to do an abbreviated form of that experience today. And it is an experience to help you release fears, both known and unknown. And you don't have to understand all of the scientific terms that Tracy will use in order for them to work. And obviously, you can look them up afterward if you're curious. But I'm going to send it over to you, Tracy. This is a beautiful experience that you dreamed that I love, and the panacea experience. I'm going to
Mhm.
invite you to take it away.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Yeah, as Pam said, this experience, it's named panacea. And a panacea, if you don't know, is something that takes away, is a cure-all. And in general, it's thought that there really isn't a cure-all. But I feel like this is a cure-all, and it's really a healing experience to release fear. So the experience prepares, in the healthcare Reiki setting, it prepares the student to receive the placement style attunements, but it can also be used with the general public. We're doing it here with you today. So a little bit about the experience. It's an experience to help release fear, as I said. Fear is multifaceted and can be present in different forms depending on what part of our being the fear originates from. So, successfully dealing with fear leads to awareness. And this experience focuses on three different forms of fear. So, fear experienced through mind consciousness, for example, the fear of not knowing something or of being misunderstood, and is experienced as mental anxiety. Number two, fear experienced through body consciousness, for example, physical fear for survival or well-being, and fear that's experienced through spirit consciousness and it's experienced as nervousness associated with the unpredictability of nature or God. So each of these forms of fear has a biological correlation, and each will be mentioned in this experience. It's important to accept, even if you don't understand, that simply hearing the words can and will affect your consciousness. This experience will take you to the core of your being, your DNA, and the energy of the divine healers of medicine, which will start to heal known and unknown fears in preparation for your journey back to your authentic self. The divine healers of medicine include all, as Pam mentioned earlier, it includes all beings that came before us and all those that will come after us, united in one energy that is a synthesis of all the healing frequencies contributed by each. This is a dynamic frequency, meaning that it adjusts to your needs, known and unknown, resulting in healing that is specific just for you. This takes place at the level of your DNA, and you'll hear words spoken that represent the amino acids that are the basis of what makes up your DNA, which are made of three nucleotides, which are the basis of our DNA. A codon is a group of three nucleotides. As this occurs in you, it also affects humanity's global DNA. So again, it's not important to understand nucleotides or DNA or the amino acids that are mentioned, because it's the word, the power of the word and the meaning of it that is the important part. So a panacea is a remedy for all diseases or ills. When something becomes a panacea, it can solve a wide range of issues or challenges. This new energy is a panacea. The word is derived from Panacus, the goddess of universal remedy. This panacea heals with grace, grace being your true nature. And through grace, you remember that there is nothing in you but love. So let's do the experience now. Go ahead and allow yourself to find a comfortable position. And when you're ready, go ahead and gently close your eyes. And take a few deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Keep taking deep breaths in through your nose. And as you breathe out, intend to release all that no longer serves you. Allow yourself to let go. Allow your attention to move from your mind to your body. In this experience, I invite you to embody the true essence of the aura that you came into this world with, releasing fear and conditioning and returning to your authentic self. And in doing this, you become the panacea for your own true nature. As you center yourself in this moment, simply be present in your body. There's a calming light surrounding you, a light that embodies healing and tranquility. This light is expanding, touching every part of your being. Your quiet mind, your body, and your spirit. And now, in the stillness of this moment, we release fear associated with mind consciousness, representing the biological functions of the neocortex, the visual cortex, and the pituitary glands. Moving deeper into the essence of your being, your DNA, glycine, leucine, valine, threonine, arginine. We now transform what is physical to a frequency compatible with transformation. Whether it be conscious or unconscious, we release mental anxiety caused by fear of failure, fear of ignorance, fear of confusion, fear of darkness, fear of rejection, fear of challenge. Repeat this affirmation to yourself in this light, in this moment. I become a panacea. And for the next minute or so, allow the power of this panacea to permeate through every cell, bringing clarity, inspiration, peace, and insight. Now we release fear associated with body consciousness, representing the lymphatic system, the spleen, and the T cells. Fears that are ancient, deep, and associated with survival. Moving deeper into the essence of your being, your DNA, alanine, glutamine, asparaginic acid. We transform what is physical to a frequency compatible with transformation. Whether it be conscious or unconscious, I release fear of inadequacy, fear of the future, fear of the past, fear of responsibility, fear of failure, fear of death or lack of purpose, and fear of authority. Repeat this affirmation to yourself. In this light and in this moment, I become a panacea for my own true nature. And now for the next minute or so, allow the power of this panacea to permeate through every cell, bringing depth, intuition, alertness, values, continuity, purpose, and perfection. And now we release fear associated with spirit consciousness, representing the lungs, kidneys, pancreas, prostate gland, and nervous system. This part of our being moves us towards pleasure and away from pain, toward self-love, moving deeper into the essence of your being, your DNA, proline, glycine, histidine, glutamine. We now transform what is physical to a frequency compatible with transformation, whether it be conscious or unconscious. I release fear of weakness, fear of intimacy, fear of God or nature, fear of silence, fear of emptiness, fear of emotional inadequacy, fear of fate. Repeat this affirmation to yourself. In this light, in this moment, I become a panacea of my own true nature and for my own true nature. And for the next minute or so, allow the power of this panacea to permeate through every cell, bringing tenderness, peace, rebirth, grace, freedom, compassion, and transcendence. And as you come back, it's with the knowing or the feeling that the fears do not necessarily completely go away, but become an aspect of your being that actually enriches your life. It is possible to embrace our fear by being present. Fear is exaggerated when projected into the past or the future. As you continue to breathe deeply, let go of any lingering concerns or worries. Embrace the idea that in this present moment, with the power of this panacea, you are whole, you are complete, and at peace. Take a few more moments to bask in the healing light as the grace of you is revealed to you. Love yourself.
Tracey, thank you so much for sharing that today. And I just want to thank our listeners who are here for staying with us, for giving themselves an opportunity to listen to this and to release their fears. And if healthcare Reiki is something you'd like to learn more about, we would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you so much,
here.
Pam.
You're welcome. And thank you for being my partner in this. This has just been such an honor.
Yeah, for me as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And keep shining your light. Keep healing yourself and others and raising the vibration of the planet. We need it right now.
Hmm.
Namaste.
Namaste.